When it comes to Super Smash Bros., there's characters that are sometimes good, sometimes bad, and sometimes just not good enough, at least to be used in competitive play. When Project M was in development, there was no Smash 4 or Smash Ultimate. It was just 64 to Brawl. So viability in Smash games was basically, you were either good or you were unviable. I'm not gonna defend Project M's earlier updates because that's another story completely, but those were some messy days for sure. But I will say, this is something that I don't think enough people give this mod credit for, and it's actually fixing a lot of the problems with the older updates, the broken mess of the 3.0 days. However, as the years and updates went by, even Project Plus, they managed to make one of the most competitive and balanced Smash games of all time. Considering that any character can be played in the meta and be used in high-level tournament. And that's the point of this video, to show the characters that were previously bad and how Project M made them much better. Is this an excuse for me to gush about my favorite Project M characters? You bet that's the case. Here's how Project M fixed a handful of low-tier and mid-tier characters and made them better. While I'm definitely a little biased here because this character I've played thousands of hours, I couldn't not talk about a Project M character who got majorly buffed and not talk about Ness. Ness in Project M on paper doesn't look like he got changed that majorly. Compared to other characters like Lucas and Lucario, Ness looks morally the same in a lot of areas. Previous versions of Ness in Melee to Brawl were mid to low tier characters. Even in 64, he had some good aspects to the character, but is mostly seen as a low tier. Ness's main flaws in competitive play is his lack of range. Many of his moves just can't reach opponents consistently, and a lot of his worst matchups are just characters who just outrange him and spam aerials at him and keep him away. He has awful aerials in games like Melee especially, where his moves just have too much end lag to be used consistently, and his moveset across the board is way too slow and laggy, leaving to Ness being easily punished. Like, look at PK Fire in Melee. People complain about PK Fire all the time, but it's actually not that good. How Ness was fixed in Project M is they took a lot of cues from 64 Ness that actually were pretty good despite the flaws the character had. And they were made even stronger in Project M. In fact, all of his aerials across the board were given plenty of buffs in their speed and KO power, which makes these moves super deadly, especially off stage. My favorite being back air. Back air, down air, and Ness's combo game was just in general fixed to make it functional. If anything, Ness feels like his moveset was tweaked perfectly as they took away a lot of the end lag on his attacks and special moves. These things didn't make the character annoying in any way. He still has stubby limbs in Project M, but they are a step above plenty of his attacks from previous Smash games. Don't get me wrong, if we took away Ness's range problem, he would probably be too good. He's still a very solid character in Project M. Even his recovery, which is something that has always been a bit of a double-edged sword for the character. It's probably the most high-risk, high-reward recovery in the game, but if a player knows how to beat it, its flaws begin to show. In Project M, they even buffed the move's utility. If you're a freak like me, you can ledge cancel the move. If anything, Ness's Project M moveset was given quality of life changes that makes the character more viable in Project M, as Ness is currently in the B tier right now, which means he's higher than previous iterations of his character. Some people think he's only been marginally better because he's technically a mid-tier, but being a mid-tier in Project M actually means a lot more than being like a mid-tier in Melee or a mid-tier in Brawl, as the cast is very competitive in Project M. One of my favorite characters who got the Project M quality of life treatment was a character that was technically a mid-tier in Brawl and was definitely hampered down by a lot of flaws like their speed. At first in Brawl's meta, this character seemed to be very good out the gate, but this character didn't really become that good as meta developed. This character was Ike. Now, Ike is a character that was the standard slow, strong fighter, which is ironic. A lot of times these characters fall off the meta after the meta has matured because the top tiers are getting more developed and they take advantage of these slower speed characters that have a lot of end lag. So Ike in Project M is probably one of the coolest buffed characters that any character in this mod has honestly received. It's such a very interesting way to balance this type of flaw, but they gave him quick draw cancel, as it is a massive buff to this character's mobility, as you can cancel a quick draw by inputting a jump. Since you can jump out of it, you can not only wave dash, but you can really do whatever your mind can come up with. You can wall jump out of quick draw, you can grab, you can wave dash. This essentially solved Ike's biggest problem, which was his lackluster mobility. So without quick draw, he's actually not the fastest character in the game, but quick draw definitely makes his mobility much better. In fact, Ike is one of Ness's most problematic matchups. That's why I included him here. I definitely hate facing Ike because his range in combination with his now better mobility makes his combo game so much better, and it makes him a deadly force in Project M's meta. In fact, I think Ike is one of P+'s most underrated characters in the game. His throw follow-ups are so insane, and aerial attacks are pretty beefy and kind of suspiciously fast for how strong they are. Like, for example, his back air. It's just like, what the heck is going on here? One of the most buffed low tiers in Project M was actually not Bowser. Some of you are probably, what? Wait, what? I thought Bowser was mega buffed at Project M. Well, actually, the character was still technically a low tier for a long time. Now, being a low tier in Project M, the older updates of Project M, it wasn't the worst thing ever. It still meant he was a viable character, but he was pretty uncommon in the meta back in the day, especially in PM's earlier updates. He was still heavily buffed, as one of his main issues for each iteration of Bowser back in the day especially was his speed and the fact that his moves just are very slow. An easy way to fix that was actually giving Bowser a lot of armor buffs. Problem solved, in a way. You can actually use his smash attacks without worrying about getting stuffed, and he can't even put out any moves. But now he has armor, so he can take hits. He can charge a smash attack and then actually go through attacks and then attack them for it. Bowser still has a lot of problems though. He has really no way of dealing with projectile users. This was always a problem for the character in every game. Now this could be fixed in a multitude of ways. You could either make Bowser much faster and give him a, maybe give him a projectile. Project Plus Bowser did both, giving him a powerful fireball attack that can only be used once per use, and it roughly needs 15 seconds to charge. It will go away if Bowser loses a stock. So it's sort of like a weaker version of Wario Waft in a way, but it's a projectile. On top of that, they would actually tone down a lot of Bowser's end lag on a majority of his attacks. They made his 6-frame jump squat to a 5-frame jump squat, which made the character feel way more fluid, and it means he can actually do aerial combos a little bit more consistently now. And to say these changes would make Bowser much better would be an understatement, as he would later win his very first major tournament, which is pretty crazy to see, as people thought Bowser could not do this in the past. Now people think he was actually an underrated character even back during 3.6, simply underutilized in the meta. And actually the character next has a very similar history in the meta of at least being underrated, and that's Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong in Project M is a love letter to the people who wished DK was a better character in games like Brawl or Melee. I find some of these changes a little bit ironic, especially for the competitive viability in the more recent days of Melee's modern meta. Kinda crazy, as there was a similar thing going on in Project M. Project M DK became a dominant top tier character many years after the meta developed, especially considering the fact that people thought he was a low tier for a long time. Well, the truth is Donkey Kong was secretly a high tier character, and there was a Donkey Kong renaissance period even in Project M. This version of DK is a lot faster, and his end lag on his attacks were majorly toned down. The fact that Donkey Kong can actually do what the character is sort of meant to do when he's not hampered down by so many flaws proves that he's a very strong character. He has a lot more reach, to the point where people like to call Donkey Kong a swordie now, and I know I'm kidding, but on that last part, combine this with the fact that he's a strong character, and it means he can use his extreme speed to cargo, grab, punish opponents, and take advantage of the opponent. While his recovery is still, a limited horizontal tool, the move is significantly better than in the past. PMDK is like the weights being shackled off and finally being a significantly better version of the character compared to the past iterations. So to put it lightly, this version of Donkey Kong has won major tournament after major tournament after major tournament. He's that good in this game. Roy's a character that is completely unique to Project M because the character was cut from Melee, and him and Mewtwo were actually brought over to Project M, except this time Roy's actually a viable character, where both characters were previously low tiers of Melee, now being a lot better. While Roy does not have the same heights as Mewtwo did in some of the 3.0 meta, he is a much more honest version of the character, still being a fast faller that is easy to combo, and his recovery is definitely punishable. However, this is a much better version of Roy despite having some of the same flaws. If anything, this is honestly understandable because the character's KO power was buffed significantly. His sweet spot attacks are stronger while his sour spots were toned down, and the spirit of the character from Melee was given a lot of quality of life changes. Roy can still chain grab fast fallers with his up throw just like in Melee, and while having a side special that was massively buffed where you can actually turn around while doing side special. And I'm sure some of you are saying, isn't this really unnecessary for Roy? No, it isn't, but maybe it is, but nah, it's cool as hell. So yes, of course, I love it. It allows Roy to catch people who try to roll past his side special and try to punish him, so the move altogether visually looks much better in Project M. While I did dunk on Roy's recovery still being a weakness, it is leagues better than the Melee version. His up special travels much further distance-wise. A majority of his range problems in Melee were also fixed. Some of my favorite additions was making Neutral B a much stronger attack that Roy can finish off opponents off stage with. As the move has a lot more knockback, it's really beefy. This is something they never really did with the attack in the official Smash game, so it's cool to see. Mewtwo in his Melee iteration was stuck with a lot of flaws, being extremely lightweight. He can die from attacks at early percents, so his survivability is mediocre. He has a large character model that makes him easy to target and to hit because he has, of course, the well-known tail hurt box. These things mean that he's easy to be picked apart by simply camping him out and trying to keep him away. While he does have some strengths like his combo game being rather decent, especially with his up throw and down throw, and his KO power is actually not bad. But in my opinion, it could have been a lot better, especially for a character who is trying to be essentially the glass cannon archetype. The character was actually added completely from scratch to Project M's engine along with Roy, where each frame was recreated by hand by some really talented animators. Mewtwo, of course, was uber broken when the character first came out in Project M 3.0, broken in a cast full of broken characters, which is why in the later years of Project Plus, especially Mewtwo has matured into a high-tier character, being a lot better than the low-tier version from Melee, but definitely not being the uber broken version of the character that people probably remember him as. He actually can KO much earlier in this game, his strongest aerial being his forward air. That's a very fast tool, easily one of his most devastating aerials, especially since this move can help Mewtwo escape out of combos. Mewtwo's weight was also improved, making him live longer, and his recovery is leagues better than what it was in Melee. There's also possible mix-up options now available with the character using teleport. Mewtwo's tail hurt box was also turned down by cutting it in half, and Mewtwo's range was majorly improved on his attacks as he has way more reach now. Look at moves like down tilt or nair, for example. I love his nair in this game, they're so good. Mewtwo to a lot of people is a high tier to top tier character, but he's far from being broken. He's incredibly technical and he has a lot of things you have to learn if you want to be a top level Mewtwo main, so there is a barrier of entry to the character. He still has some of the same flaws like being lightweight. Yes, his weight was definitely increased, but he still dies early. He's a big target, he's easy to combo, but I think Project M reached a great middle ground of balancing him because a decade ago when he came out, he was definitely a lot more busted. I've saved the best for last. I've talked about Sonic in previous videos. I'm definitely super biased. I wish Sonic in Project M was just Sonic in Smash, but they really gave Sonic the quality of life changes that I think a lot of people just really enjoy. This is way before Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate. You got a much better version of Sonic in competitive play. This is like if the Brawl version of Sonic was definitely improved, and if anything, Sonic in Smash was seen as a failure, at least back in Brawl. Many of his moves looked like they were copy and paste of other animations. Some would say this was still a flaw with Sonic to this day, as Sonic is a mediocre character, at least in Brawl's meta, ending up in the D tier, and that was all he was known for. There was no Ultimate version or Smash 4 version. Because his KO power and damage output was so weak, he wasn't seen as a good character, and if anything, this is why I give the Project M version so much credit. They decided to change a handful of moves, a new forward air, down smash, side special that allows him to wave dash out of the attack. It's a much more aggressive option than the original side special. They improved Sonic's KO power on a handful of his moves, and my god, this forward air can meteor smash now. It's just Such a cool option. I bring it up every time. I don't care. I love it. It's such a great change. It's not the first time that I've talked about PM Sonic, but I know you guys love hearing me talk about this character because it made Sonic, who was previously a mid-tier character, become a top tier in Project M's meta. And it's not because Sonic is campy in this game, it's because they made his moveset more aggressive and they gave him more options to help balance him out and round out his moveset and make it more original. So yes, he even got a lot of quality of life changes, like his neutral special allows him to do this, peak animations right here. The point of this video is to show the different interpretations on how to balance certain characters and how these changes can affect their viability. And you know I love talking about Project M and P+ stuff, so that's a big point why. There's room for more characters to be talked about in the future, so if you guys want a sequel to this video, be sure to let me know down below. Stream my newest album, Zach Honest Sapphire. Patreon down below if you guys want to support the channel in any way. You get access to the Honest Content Discord, and you also get access to videos early. Hopefully you guys have a good day. Take care. Peace.